Today on Locked On Red Wings, we're going to break down the signing of Magnus Hellberg from the KHL, as well as talk more about those rookies Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond, and preview tonight's matchup against the Carolina Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty also hosts over at Locked On Tigers. Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. We got three main things we want to talk to you guys about today. First, like a news and notes section, the Red Wings signed out of the KHL today Swedish goaltender Magnus Hellberg to a NHL contract, 1 year. And by 1 year, I mean the last 7 games of the season. Interesting move for the Red Wings. Then in the second segment, we're going to talk about Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. We love to do that. One of the few bright spots for the Red Wings this season. Jay Fresh posted their hockey stat cards, their impact, not their hockey stat cards, but their Lord above, what the word is escaping me, their XL player cards.
There you go.
For the season. Thus far, as he continues his role on the Calder.
Do we have the capability to share screen those when we get to it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and then final segment, like always, we're going to preview that game against the Carolina Hurricanes. I think it's the third and final matchup between those two teams. But first and foremost, so the Red Wings today announced that they have signed goaltender Magnus Hellberg, which, first of all, the first thing that stands out to me is that is an awesome name.
Awesome name.
Hellberg, like top 10 NHL name.
Even though it took you 3 tries to get through the cold open, you nailed his name every time.
Every single time.
It was never because of him.
So Magnus Hellberg is a Swedish goaltender playing in the KHL this season with HK Sochi. He is 31 years old. He was drafted in the 2011 NHL draft in the second round, 38th overall by the Nashville Predators. He didn't make his NHL debut until he was with the New York Rangers. That's actually backtrack that. He did play one game with the new Nashville Predators in 2013, 2014, but he never really stuck. He only played a handful of NHL games, bounced between the AHL and the AHL and the ECHL before eventually going over to the KHL, where he honestly, really, really has been really good in the KHL. He was solid in the AHL as well. This past season, he put up a .917 save percentage. He had a save percentage of the year prior with SKA St. Petersburg of .930. So he's been a solid KHL level goaltender. So my question for you, Scotty, is what was your reaction when you saw that they signed this 6'6" goaltender out of the KHL?
Well, my first reaction was, honestly, how old is he?
It's fair. That's fair.
That was my first reaction because, like, if he, the difference between signing a dude in their mid or early 20s versus signing a dude to basically a 7-game contract when he's pushing 40 is a lot different.
Yeah.
Right. So my first reaction was, how old is this dude? And then, I mean, sure. Well, I feel like I've been using that as my reaction to a lot of stuff lately. But when it comes to additions on this team at this point in the season, why not? You might as well audition people and see if you like random dudes that no one's ever heard of before. Why not? There's no knowing for a fact that this entire roster will not be the entire roster going into opening night next season, knowing that you have areas you want to improve on, knowing that it doesn't hurt to give some of these dudes that have 7 games left in their Red Wings careers nights off to end the season. Why not? Like, does Grice really need to play every game Ned doesn't? No. Like, what? You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Sure.
So my first reaction when I saw the signing was not why not, but why. It was the opposite. Why? Why did they sign Magnus Hellberg? Not that I'm against signing Magnus Hellberg. I'm going to say his full name every time because it's awesome.
It is a hard name, objectively.
But it was an NHL contract. So he starts his tenure in Detroit with Detroit. There's been a lot of theorizing that he's a Grand Rapids Griffins depth signing. because Calvin Pickard is still hurt and Victor Bradstrom is struggling. He's got an 888 save percentage, and the Grand Rapids Griffins are in a three-way tie for the final playoff spot. That actually makes perfect sense until you consider the fact that if they want him to play with Grand Rapids, he would have to go through waivers. And Max Boltman confirmed this, that the Red Wings signed Magnus Hellberg to an NHL Detroit Red Wings contract. Now, I'm not worried about losing him on waivers by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he was a KHL goaltender. No one's taking a flyer on him all season long. So I don't think that if they did put him on waivers with the purpose of sending him down to Grand Rapids, he would necessarily get picked up. But why did you sign him to a 7-game-long contract at the NHL level, not the AHL level, unless maybe that's the only thing he would sign? He's making $800,000, I think, is his salary cap. He's making league minimum with the Red Wings, unless there is an injury to be announced. And I asked Max this today, and I was like, is there an injury to a goaltender that we are not aware of? And he said when he gets off the plane in Carolina, that's the first thing he's going to ask tomorrow. And so I'm really interested in to see what he ends up saying if he finds out that maybe Grice or Ned is hurt. And we haven't, because you know how close to the vest they hold this information. I mean, logically speaking, yeah, it's a Grand Rapids depth signing, but the fact that they signed him to an NHL contract, it gives me gives me pause. It makes me wonder what the real reason is. What is there more to this than that meets the eye?
Sure, and at the end of the day, if let's say there is an injury. Let's say Grice is done for the year. Let's say he's done for the last 7 games of the season. They need a backup goalie, and that's why they did it. Okay, well then there you go. That's the reason. Very anticlimactic. You needed a backup goalie. You found one you kind of liked. Why not have him ride out the rest of the year over here, right? If it's not an injury, that is more exciting to me. If it wasn't, because that means that they see something enough. They see enough in this dude to have him come over, right, across the world, basically. Have him come over and play for the last 7 games of an NHL season where he's not even going to get all 7 games or even close to all 7 games.
Yeah. And you know what? In the end, Scotty, a lot of the times, the most simple explanation ends up being the true explanation.
Sure.
Throwing out like all these, what if situations about, he was an NHL contract, so maybe there's an injury at the NHL level we don't know about. But not in all honesty, it probably is just the fact that they had to sign him to an NHL contract to get him to sign. They're going to send him on put him on waivers, send him down to the AHL level to give the Griffins support. And it could also, like you say, be as simple as a tryout at the same time, because Red Wings are in a market for a backup goaltender, and he's 31 years old, which is honestly, when it comes to goalies, right in that sweet spot. A lot of those goalies hit their prime as soon as, like, on this latter half of what would be a normal NHL player's career. So
yeah, if it's just to put him on waivers and give give some depth to Grand Rapids, that's fine. Like, okay, cool. If it's an injury, okay, cool. If it's anything but those two, that's where it gets exciting. But 98% chance it's probably just one of those two things.
And he'll be a solid AHL goaltender too. I mean, he went over to the KHL in 17-18, but before that, he played with the Hartford Wolfpack for 2 years. He had a .918 save percentage and a .903 save percentage with the Milwaukee Admirals, and he had a .913 and a .911 save percentage. So he's proven that at the AHL level, he can succeed and get good success there. So I'm all for him going down to Grand Rapids, helping them make a playoff push. But if not, I'm not opposed. Like you said, why not? Like, let him get a couple starts at the NHL level, see what he's get made of. He's a big goaltender. And you're in the market for a backup anyways. So that's probably not what's going to happen, but I'm not opposed to it at this point, because this is a rebuilding year. We've been hot and cold on this team because they've exceeded expectations at times and then undercut expectations at others. Right now, they're in that stage where they're way underperforming what we expected, even as a rebuilding team. But them being out of the playoffs, there's really nothing to lose by putting an unproven goaltender in there and just seeing if his years in the KHL have matured him. No harm.
No harm, no foul, baby.
No harm, no foul. I have no clean segue for this, so I'm just going to say today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. God, he's going to do it. Okay. Segment 2, Lockdown Red Wings podcast, Thursday edition. Further, one more small note on the news and notes section. The Red Wings did assign Taro Hirose to the Grand Rapids Griffins. Prior to this move, I'm assuming it's to make roster space for Magnus Hellberg. So Taro Hirose, full disclosure, he's Taro Hirose. He's a replacement level player. That's exactly what he is. He's going to be first call on this NHL level team when there's an injury. So when their roster's full, he's going to get sent back down. He is literally, when people talk about wins above replacement, he is the replacement.
Correct. Yeah.
So I am very indifferent. He's not bad, but I'm not going to necessarily miss him either.
Correct.
So I wanted to talk about Mark Stahl. Before Jay Fresh came out with these player cards, because Mark Stahl, I love the man. And then I subscribed to Evolving Hockey today, which, by the way, it's an amazing way of helping you understand advanced analytics. And they display it in such a clean way. I found out that Mark Stahl has advanced analytics that back up the fact that I love him. It says love per 60 relative to his teammates is like 10.
Love per 60. You're such a fool.
Well, real talk, he had a really good season. He's resurrected his career.
He was one of our most effective players and productive players on either side of the puck. And on top of that, you talk to anybody in the locker room, and they all said that he's dad. And
love per 60.
It is a big component in the leadership of the team and teaching the youngsters how to be like NHL players and stuff. So even on top of being, one of the more productive players just on the ice, obviously immense value off the ice. And that's why at the beginning of the year, least we forget, coming into the season, people were like, what? Mark Stahl got an A? Pretty obvious now.
Yeah. And so I have a lot of little micro analytics to throw up on the screen to back that up, but I'm going to wait. Until we have a slower news day to get into that whole topic. Just a part 2 on my Mark Stahl love train later on, probably next week is when we'll get to it, because tomorrow we got a recap and then a preview for the weekend. But Jay Fresh posted he posted the hockey cards for the top rookies for the year. And yeah, Moritz Seider's the man. Moritz Seider's absolutely the man. Also, again, as always, make sure you go follow Jay Fresh if you haven't already. He is a phenomenal
Ryan,
follow.
open your DMs. Let's go through those.
Yeah, no. It's mostly just you giving me thumb down reacts to things I say.
It's literally just me. Never mind.
You sending me dumb memes.
Counting everything you send to me.
Look at our boy Moritz Seider here.
Unreal, man. Look at that.
He was
definitely first... if you are not watching on YouTube, you definitely should, because it's a sight.
Yeah. So Moritz Seider has, as a rookie, a WAR percentage of 94%, which means that he is in the top 6% of NHL players this season in terms of wins above replacement. He is basically meaning he's an elite level player as a rookie. He is the first one that Jay Fresh posted, and he has the highest WAR percentage out of all of them. And so what I find most interesting here is not confirming our bias that Moritz Seider is the best player of the rookie. Like, we already are in agreement that Moritz Seider is the unanimous Calder favorite. I mean, he's got an even strength offense of 78%, an even strength defense of 78%. So he's already in the top 22% in the league at both even strength offense and even strength defense from the back end. His power play is great. We always see him flourish on power play. But what's most interesting to me is looking at the ways he can improve, the areas of his game that are not that strong, because we've always wondered what could he improve on because he's always been so strong. Penalty kill. He is 10% in the penalty kill. He is in the bottom 10% of the league when it comes to penalty kills as a defenseman. And that's not necessarily, and here's what I'm wondering. Can we blame him for that? And not necessarily blame is not the right word, but how much of that is on his shoulders and how much of that is on the team around him? Because the Wings take a lot of penalties and they're not very strong defensively to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And I think the second that we get some, I mean, you also got to talk about his line mates for the year, right? Like that's obviously a huge component in some of this too. I mean, goodness gravy, that was a interesting revolving door of line mates that you gave this kid. So I'm it's one of the reasons I'm really excited for the offseason, to be honest with you, because I think Stevie realizes that like it at some point it's going to hinder the kid's development if we just keep throwing him out there with horrid line mates. So might push and motivate the front office to maybe bring in some more talent on the blue line. But also, I mean, we got some more kids coming up and everything too. But I mean, it's just remarkable looking at this when you take into consideration everything. Like you said, you take into consideration the performance of the team around him. You take into consideration the rest of the defensive group, period. His line mates, the people that he's on the power play with. We had the production of the power play, I guess I'll say. It's just everything. The fact that he's able to put up this in the situation that he is in is nothing short of remarkable.
Well, and what's really interesting to me too, as well, is the fact that he's doing all this when his competition is at 85%, which means obviously that he's playing against some of the toughest competition in the league. But also his power play percent is so incredibly high, while his offense overall, if you look at his micro stats, isn't all that impressive. So when he's getting opportunities at man up, he's taking advantage, while at even strength, he is struggling a little bit to generate offense. He's really good at cycle shots, but his overall shot selection, his overall chances, his passing, they're not awful, but they're not the greatest. Meanwhile, while his penalty kill is awful, his overall defense is phenomenal. He's very poor at targeting, but he's got an over 50% denial rating, a 78% carry rating, a 100% carry chances, and a 71% denial rate. Denial rate means
believe on this team being a 93% power play defenseman as a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. How many power play goals is he getting points on? It makes perfect sense. He's facilitating. We just read the stat off yesterday that Moritz Seider is the first Red Wings rookie since 1991 when Nick Lidstrom had 20-plus power play points. He does a little bit of everything. And so I think that looking at his micro stats for defense helps back up the theory that his penalty kill percentage is so poor because of the team around him, not necessarily because of him. And him, again, being just 20 years old, just turned 20. So much room for improvement past this. And the fact that at 20 years old, he's a top pair defenseman with a 94% WAR percentage is amazing. Also, the other thing I love so much about Moritz Seider is his entries and exits. Exiting the defensive zone and entering the offensive zone, he is stellar. I mean, look at all that blue. He's just been an absolute treat all year long, and he's just going to get better. He's just going to get better.
Which is terrifying for the rest of the league.
Let's move on to our boy, Lucas Raymond, as I share that tab now. I totally have them on all opposite tabs. He is still very good. And Jay Fresh actually mentions he's cooled off considerably after a hot start at 5-on-5. Did a nice job of finishing chances, received a lot of high danger looks from talented line mates, distantly involved on exits, not so much in entries. Also, he got a 72% WAR percentage, which is still very good.
Right. It's important to point out that a 72% WAR percentage is still very, very impressive for a rookie. You just can't compare anyone to Moritz Seider because he's just built different.
Yeah, no one was even sniffing Moritz Seider.
Right, exactly. Seider. So 72 is still a very impressive and very good mark for Raymond's rookie season to be at. That is still wildly impressive. It's just Moritz Seider's just not. Don't compare anyone to Moritz Seider. That's just not fair to that person.
Yeah, and so obviously Lucas Raymond excels at even strength offense. He struggles at even strength defense, which I actually agree with. He obviously at the start of the season was all over the place doing everything right, but I noticed a lot recently he struggled to get involved defensively, and you can see that on the ice. You can see it on the hockey stat card here. He makes up for that by playing on a line with Dylan Larkin and Tyler Bertuzzi and having an incredible ability at finishing. He's got an 80% finishing ability. He's got a 77% power play, as well as a 72% goals per 60. So he offsets his underwhelming defensive metrics with an overwhelming ability to finish on, the power play and at even strength.
Yeah, I think again, like he talked about the kind of cooling off of him in the second half of the season, but there's still some wildly impressive numbers like the ones you just pointed out. But I think the one that is maybe the most impressive to me is 87% penalties, really solid from a rookie, but still being at 80% finishing at this point, even after, the goal production and the production level from him kind of tailed off, to still be that high at this point in the season is very, very impressive to me.
Yeah, and I think that Lucas Raymond, I again, like you were saying, Scotty, it's really hard to compare him to Moritz Seider, because Moritz Seider just leagues above. I am by no means down on Lucas Raymond whatsoever. He has still had an incredibly impressive season. It does show some areas of improvement, though, which I think that's the most interesting part of this is the areas of improvement.
Yeah, being able to pinpoint what areas, because now when you go into next season, okay, we're gonna look to see if he improved in these areas, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can look exactly at his zone exits and zone entries. Basically his play and transition. He was good at zone exits.
Yeah, the exits are phenomenal.
He had an 89% success rate at exiting the zone when he carried the puck, although he only possessed the puck on 25% of those zone exits. But carry exits and exit success percent, I mean, he's very good at getting out of the defensive zone with the puck, but entering the offensive zone, he struggles at. He's not above 50% on any of the metrics, entering the zone. But other than that, man, it's pretty. He's been pretty successful, and he's very good at cycling the puck. Cycling the puck in the offensive zone, yes. He's very good at.
Yeah, and that's one that I think most people could kind of eye test.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the hockey IQ comes in. Just knowing when to do stuff like that. So
yeah, we've been talking about that one since early on in the year.
There's a lot to love about these Red Wings rookies, and Moritz Seider's very clearly going to win the Calder, but let's not forget all that Lucas Raymond has done this season, and all that Alex Nedeljkovic has done this season as well.
Absolutely.
I know that at this point, his goal saved above expected has dipped below what anyone would hope. I think he's like a -10, but you have to also remember the team that he's playing behind. So I think Alex Nedeljkovic has a lot of room for improvement as well. I'm by no means even close to hitting the panic button on him, especially when he's capable of going out there and making 47 saves. So
absolutely.
Well, this last month and a half has been incredibly frustrating as Red Wings fans, and probably it's going to be an incredibly frustrating last 7 games, Scotty.
Probably.
There's still bright spots on this team, and you always got to keep in your back, and you got to ground yourself to stay humble, so to speak, and not get super, I guess, ventful.
Are you working the last Wings game?
Of course.
Yeah. I might see you there.
Oh?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure it out.
Just show up. Just come. Just show up, Scotty.
I might.
I need you to tower over me.
I do that with most people, yeah.
Maybe the Red Wings will sign you to a contract.
Yeah, no.
But yeah,
the old legs aren't really holding up to that anymore.
You can't get into the butterfly stance?
Yeah, not quite.
But yeah, and at the end of the rant, we got to remember it's a rebuilding year and there's bright spots on this team nonetheless.
I still argue, man. I still argue all the time. If you would have told Wings fans on opening night that this would be the season, You show all the stats from Larkin, Bertuzzi, and all the kids, and you show them the record, right? If you were to show any of us, any fan, all of that production going into opening night and said, hey, this is what you're going to get this year, all of us would have taken it.
Yeah. Let's move on now to the game preview segment of our podcast. The Red Wings are playing for the third and final time this season. The Carolina Hurricanes, last time they faced each other was March 1st. The Red Wings squeaked away with a 4-3 overtime win. Carolina Hurricanes took the first matchup between the two, 5-3. So kind of the rubber match of this season series between the two. And Hurricanes are a lethal team, Scotty. We all know this at this point. They're first in the Metropolitan Division. 48.
I'm excited to watch them in the playoffs.
Oh, they're one of my favorite teams to watch. I'm not even going to lie.
Really, the bunch of jerks, baby. Really pumped to watch them in the playoffs.
I really, also just from the standpoint that they're somebody who hasn't won it all yet. Like, I'm going to be rooting for them. I'm going to be rooting for Minnesota. You know,
I'm going to be rooting hard for Minnesota. Let me tell you.
They're a fun young team. I love young teams that make their first playoff appearance. Like, honest to God. Like, just let me see what they got. But the thing that makes the Carolina Hurricanes so lethal, the most lethal, Scotty, is their penalty kill, man. They have the league's best penalty kill at 88.5%.
Yeah, it's nutty.
Yeah, nutty. Red Wings power play is bad enough already.
Right, I was going to say our power play is already brutal. So that's just really icing on the cake. Honestly, it would be so on brand for us to lose like 4-1 and our one goal be on the power play. Seriously, that would be the most on brand thing ever.
And it'll be like a Jacob Vrana goal hit for his one goal.
Yeah, seriously, yes.
I mean, just looking ahead at this game, Scotty, it's gonna be a tough one. They're all tough ones at this point, but more so than a lot of the other ones we're going to play as the season plays out. The Carolina Hurricanes are the cream of the crop.
We haven't heard anything otherwise.
Magnus Hellberg?
That'd be crazy. You just sign him and immediately throw him in there? That'd be wild.
I actually have a conspiracy theory that they started Grice on Tuesday just so Nedeljkovic could get the start in Carolina against his former team. I think this is the third time this season that he's going to play them. So
love it.
I know Lockdown Hurricanes host Jared Ellis will be at the game, and because he was asking me if Ned was going to start, I'm like, probably. I imagine.
I want the Ned revenge game. I want it. I want like the defense just not show up at all, but it not matter. Like
one of those 47 save games.
Yeah, I want a Ned 46-piece shutty. That's what I want.
Yeah, he's got it in him. The whole team's got it in them to win when they have to. But if they lose, you know what? I'm past being upset over losing. I mean, they have some very obvious flaws, and we've talked about it at length. But every single loss will help them in the long run, even if it sucks to watch them lose.
Yeah, very okay with either at this point. A loss makes our lottery odds better. A win, I think, is healthy for the team. I'm really chilling with either. I'm no longer in the days of, I don't think we are at the point in the rebuild anymore where we're like, we need to lose every single game to end the season to try to, get the number one pick, whatever. I'm okay with improving our lottery odds, obviously, but I'm going to be pretty happy with wins at this point too. I'm not sure we're going to get one. I'm not sure we're going to get one tomorrow. But
can we just give Buffalo to win like one or two more games? It's really annoying me. They're 1 point above us. If they would just pass us in the standings, we would have the 8th best odds, which gives us a 0.4% increase. Just very minimal. Tank-a-thon? Yeah, let's do that. I'll throw that up right now. I'm looking at it. That's why I was talking about it. So close. All right. Time for the Tank-a-thon, guys. 1-9. Two.
The first time we ever did this, we one-pieced it.
I was gonna make an anime joke there because you said One Piece, but I'll let it slide.
Hilarious.
Well, it's not hilarious. I didn't make a joke. Don't patronize me, Scotty.
Okay. Wow. All right. Wow.
I kid. 3, 9, 4, 9, 5, 10, 6. I'm not saying it. 7, 9.
Man, you didn't
8,
say 6,
10.
9. 6, 9.
Nice. Now I've lost. I'm going to say I'm at 10. 10, 10. 11, 10. 12, 10. 13, 1. There we go.
Let's go. Lucky number 13, baby.
Remember when it took us 50 tries that one time?
I do.
We got to find the average. We should have been keeping track of these and then averaging it out.
Yeah, we should have, but also we'll always have the first time we ever did it, we one timed it. Like
Yeah.
that will forever live on. So,
Any final thoughts, bro?
we ball.
We absolutely ball. Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Hosts Steel Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the expert of your fantasy league. They also are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty and I will be back with a post-game recap tomorrow. A little PSA. I'm actually going to be on the radio on Saturday, Scotty. I've got a show from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturday. That's when they let us producers go on the air in case we mess up. You know, and no one's listening at that time.
That's sick, though.
Trying to garner some listeners, but 97 won the ticket, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Me and a good friend of mine, Jake Aripma, will be on the air hosting. Talk more than just Red Wings because, you know, football and basketball run the country. So that's we'll probably be talking about that. And some
baseball's America's pastime, baby. Don't you ever forget it.
Yeah, past time.
I'm hanging up.
We'll probably talk Tigers baseball too, because the Tigers do play earlier in that game or earlier in that day. But yeah, a little PSA for you. Scotty and I will be back with you tomorrow, though. Same time, same place. It's your team.
BetOnline.
There it is. I knew you were going to do it. As soon as you didn't say it, I'm like, I talked about it yesterday. And he's going to wait until the end of the episode to do it. You're lucky I like you.
Every day.